Mark, unbelievable. Here we are in November. Where's the summer gone?
Flies by, flies by. Although it is a nice summer's day today, it did feel a bit summery out there.
It's lovely out there, and we've got ourselves a new setting today.
Yeah, even better, even better.
Right, let's cut to the chase. Now, there seems to be some anger towards the club after the Oldham game that there's a bit of a witch hunt going on, epitomised by a rather sarcastic question here. Number one, how's the hunt for the Oldham rioters going? Have every one of them had their lives ruined yet, or are some fugitives still at large? Steve on Twitter. So where are we?
Where are we, and what was the process of that? Following the disturbances at Oldham, plain and simply, you know, there was it was deemed severe enough for the police to look at the incident, and then effectively, once it gets to that stage, it's taken out of the club's hands. So we have no real further input on it at that point. It's handed over and it becomes a police matter. So it's not like we've gone after a witch hunt to try and identify people and that. This is a police matter that is, as I say, is out of our hands. It would be akin to an incident in a pub on a Friday night where maybe there's been, you know, some unrest and there's CCTV. The police are made aware of it, they've received complaints, they want to look at the CCTV, and then they follow the investigation path after that. And the second the police get involved in it, the public in the case of a pub really is sort of taken out of the equation, and it becomes a police investigation. So I believe the police received complaints, you know, about the incidents of that day. They've followed it up, asked to see the CCTV footage, and obviously then it becomes a police investigation, and as I say, it's taken out of our hands.
Which is still going on, that police investigation?
Still ongoing, yeah.
Yeah, okay. On to the next one, change attack. What were we prepared to offer Mikey Harris compared to what Brighton did? Could we compete with it? And that's Mikey leaving for Brighton.
Yeah. I'm assuming that's a financial. What was we prepared to offer him financial? And genuinely, we never even spoke about money. He came in a week or so prior to obviously it being announced that he was leaving, and said to me that Brighton had been in touch and they was looking to take him, you know, over there. I asked him, is he interested in the job? And really, as I said, it never progressed to the financial, because they're a Premiership club, they're a Category 1 club. I've seen their facilities, they're absolutely unbelievable. And for Mikey, it was all about the career path. They've got a development squad which gives him that pathway that, should he do well at under-18s, his next logical step would be up to the under-23 squad. And from there, I think Nathan Jones at Luton, as an example, went from Brighton's academy into the Luton job. Your chances of going from a Cat 3 under-18 into a managerial job is going to be very, very slim. But if you're managing an under-23 Category 1 Premiership club, then, you know, that opens up a world of opportunities in senior men's football. And ultimately, Mikey's ambitious, extremely ambitious. We sat and we talked about this, and he wants to manage, you know, as soon as he can at a senior level. He's done that, and he thought this was a great career opportunity for him. So to answer the question, we never really got round to finances.
Let's face it, he must be doing something right. The academy must be doing something right.
Exactly, yeah. You know, Bucko left when we first, within I think the first year of
which is
fan ownership.
Ian Buckman.
Ian Buckman left. I think he's now progressed through the ranks there, and he's, I think, assistant academy manager at Brighton. You know, and again, a very, very good young talent. And it's a shame we can't at this moment in time keep hold of these people. But when you are now even a League One club and you're going up in competition against Premiership clubs, to a degree that is a compliment, but we are unfortunately going to lose people as a result. And it's I mean, we spoke about it before, the analogy is it's a player really. It's, yeah, they're going to want to know what they're earning if they're going from League One into the Premiership, but ultimately people want to go and pit themselves against Manchester United, Liverpool, Arsenal, Chelsea. You know, that's the nature of the business that we're in, that you want to try and compete at the highest level possible.
I would guess it's too early to say who would replace him, but Sarah on Facebook asked that anyway.
Yeah, there's no one has actually been chosen at the moment. We're going through a very, very thorough recruitment process. The adverts are out there in the relevant areas they need to be. So, as I say, we're just going through that process at the moment. There's no timescale on it. The main thing is that we get the right person in.
And Sarah adds he's a huge loss, but of course that's football, as we all know.
It's football all the way through, unfortunately. It's, you know, as I've always said, it's a very transient business. You do what you can, but along the way, people do leave. They do progress themselves, even at the higher levels. You know, people go from players, as examples, go from Premiership clubs to other Premiership clubs are in the Champions League, and then when clubs that are in the Champions League get picked off by Real Madrid, Barcelona, and Manchester United. So it just happens all the way up the food chain.
Yeah. Okay. Still on the subject of the academy, why are academy games still being played in the main at Furs Lane? Wasn't the Tifosi scheme so that they could play at Roco, says Lee on Facebook? No,
Roco was always meant to be the training ground for the academy, especially if we're using the under-18s as an example here. So whilst the training's all done at Roco, for a match day experience, it's deemed that it's a better match day experience at Furs Lane. So plain and simple, that's the reason for that, Johnny.
Okay. Right, on to the first team. What with Christian Burgess's new contract, are you also in talks with Matt Clark? I know he still has a season after this one, but surely being a great partnership, you should be looking to give both long-term contracts, being such assets for the club. Alan on Facebook.
Agree with the sentiment. I think it's unfair. We've never singled out individual players to say we are currently in negotiation with X, Y or Z player. We're not going to do that now, but just to say that we're not silly people. We take the lead from the manager, you know, what our own eyes and senses tell us, and rest assured that certain key members of the squad that we feel are important to the club's future, like Christian, you know, we are in constant dialogue with them.
You can't always do that, can you? Because it's a two-way process. The player has to want to sign as well.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes I read, I joked with you the other morning in the office that a player saying he hasn't been offered a new contract to try and force one out of the club often means that, no, they've been offered a contract, but it's not a contract that they agree with. So my definition of offering a contract is I make a financial offer to you as a player, you say yes or no. Now at that point in my world, I have actually offered you a contract. You might not have agreed with it, but I've actually offered it to you. But I read a lot of things lately, not just at this club, but at other clubs as well, and you get to know what's going on at other clubs where players or managers have said, I wasn't offered a contract. Yeah, they were offered a contract. It was just not a contract they were willing to sign. And so that's just one of the weird things that's happening at the moment. But I always say with contract negotiations, you have to have willing parties on either side. It's okay us offering a contract extension, but that contract's got to be right for the player. And you've got the player's agent, you've quite often got the player's families involved. So it's not just a case of me as chief exec sitting with you, maybe as a player, for example, negotiating. There's a whole host of other things that have to be taken into consideration. It's not as easy as people think. Okay.
Would the club look into a covered area for disabled supporters? I know we have the best seats in the ground, but worse when it rains, the magician on Twitter. Awful lot of dialogue goes into talking to the disabled supporters on a regular basis.
And I think this has been a regular agenda item now for quite a long while, and is something that, to answer the question, yes, it is something that we are looking at. It's something that's very, very high on the agenda, and something that will be addressed once a stadium master plan has been decided upon.
And very, very aware of for quite some time.
It's something we've been aware of for quite some time. I think when Michael and Andy and, you know, the board of directors come over originally, they found it ironic that we put our disabled supporters, you know, in an area that when it rains they get wet. I mean, it's a crazy, but it's something that unfortunately isn't going to be a quick fix, because to move them back up into, say, the Fratton stand is fraught with problems and expensive issues that over the previous 4 years financially we haven't had the money to address that and everything else that had to be done. But now that, you know, we have got a new board of directors in, it's something as part of their stadium master plan, they are looking at the feasibility of where we can actually go with not just our own fans, with away fans as well, which is another big issue, and trying to get away fans in with their own fans and not sat with our fans in Fratton End.
But every conceivable possible angle is looked at.
Has been looked at, you know as well as I do. We spoke with the DSA. There's no simple fixes. We've tried to make a few extra spaces available in the south stand, you know, to varying degrees. Yeah, we've got some extra spaces, but again, you start eating into your capacity for what you have to take out to make them available. So there is that trade-off, and then you've got access, you know, disabled toilet access as well. That's all got to be taken into account. So it's not just as simple as moving a certain group of people to an area of the stadium. There's huge knock-on effects, and as I say, it's something that's under, you know, constant investigation and is high on the priority and agenda of the stadium master plan that's currently being undertaken by David Fields.
Right, Jack on Instagram doesn't like the staff selling food. Can we sort out the staff in the Fratton end? I've noticed this season that a lot of them are new and don't seem to have been trained properly or are experienced. Slow service and make mistakes.
Yeah, that's something we've had at the highest level possible, like with senior executives at Centre Plate, who are our stadium food suppliers, and our own board of directors as well. I've met with them both here and in the States, actually, because Centre Plate originates from an American company, so you can tell that it's high on Michael's agenda. The problem you've got specifically there, and I'm not making excuses because it's something that we will and are going to be dealing with in the future, is that when you're paying the salary scales that you know the people that work on a Saturdays or on match days get, and it's once every 2 weeks, coupled with the fact a lot of them are students and there's a high turnover of students, for the first half a dozen so for the home games, they are literally learning on the job, and there's this high turnover of staff, so you just get them trained up and then they go and get a job somewhere else because the work's more regular, where all we can offer them is literally once every 2 weeks. But we are working on it. We've put pressure on Centre Plate, our stadium, you know, kiosk food suppliers, and we've been given various assurances, and it did seem at the last game or so since we've had their meetings that there has been a gradual improvement of standard and service, because the amount of complaints I've had have been negligible.
Yeah,
I mean, you'll verify that. We don't argue.
Yeah, no, we don't, and it's not a unique experience to us, is it, either?
It's the same at every single football club.
Which doesn't make it right.
No, it doesn't make it right, and we have to keep looking at it, and we have to keep trying to improve it. I'm just giving you the rationale of why we do experience these problems, and we will keep working to address them.
Okay. Number 8, could the club consider a partnership with a travel website, for instance Trainline or similar, to give better offers for away travel by train? The coaches often sell quickly, so alternate arrangements would be good, says Rob on Facebook.
It's something we have looked at in the past. It's very difficult in today's internet world to get these exclusive deals, because you go on to various websites that compare the market as such, you know, in regards of trains and coaches and, you know, various even flights nowadays, and it's not something that, you know, when we've talked to different parties, that they're so involved with these other websites, it's not saying they really are keen to give us exclusivity on certain deals. So ultimately it would be the train company itself, not Trainline, because their actual margin in selling the tickets is very small. So they've got nowhere to go. They just take a little bit off of each sale. But when you try and go direct to what I used to know as British Rail, and now it's all decentralised as such, but when you try and do deals, that they're not very keen to give that money away, and as I say, they'd rather spread that out via the various comparable websites that you know, so whether you're a Pompey fan or not, you can search and get the best deal possible.
Because I remember fondly the football specials, and there was the league liner. The days gone with nationalisation when it went into privatisation.
That's it, and there's different companies running various the different routes throughout the United Kingdom now. So it's just not an easy thing to do, and at this moment in time, when we've approached companies, it's not something that they're keen to entertain.
Well, that's it.
Quick one.
Are the questions getting easier, or is it my imagination?
I don't know. I think it must be a good month. We must be doing all right if that's the questions. But listen, just keep sending them in. We'll keep answering them honestly and openly as we can, and you know, we'll see where next month takes us.
And finally, how's it for you so far?
Really good. Yes, it's gone. It seems like it's been ages, but it's actually only been 3 months, and we've done a couple of supporter club meetings where I've been at pains to point that out, that, you know, people expecting to see something overnight happen. It's never going to be like that. It's only been 3 months. Michael and our board of directors have done everything that they promised they would do. They're spending the first year coming in, looking at every aspect of the business. There's not a day goes by really where I don't speak to them, or Tony Brown doesn't speak to them, or Anna Mitchell, you know, a member of the team. So we're in constant dialogue with them. We've got David Fields over, pretty, you know, well, he's permanently over at the moment. So no, it's a great relationship working there behind the scenes. As I say, it's only been 3 months. They're doing everything that they said they would do, and you know, as I've said previously on numerous occasions, I'm really excited about the future.
Great place to leave it. Thank you, Matt.
Cheers, Johnny.